Peace, Islam fam, Islam everybody. How's it going? We're gonna have brother May L on here. We're gonna be speaking on the Moorish divine and national movement. So glad everybody's tuning in. Thank you. You definitely gonna want to click like and share this video, okay? And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. All right. So want to thank everybody for tuning in. Okay. Still Islam, brother Harris Bay. So we still waiting on the sheet to come in. But first and foremost, you know how we do. We give honors. We want to give much praise, honors to the Most High, Father of the universe, Allah. We want to give honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality, without whom we wouldn't even know that we were Moorish Americans. Peace, Islam, and Smith Bay. We want to give honors to the forerunner, right, to the forerunner to the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Always want to give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America. A lot of people didn't even know the prophet appointed a Supreme Grand Sheikh, a brother man E. Millie Ill. We want to give honors to the Supreme Grand Council. Peace, honors to the Sheikh. So we want to give honors to the Supreme Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, D. Bailey L. And of course, we want to give honors to all the active Moors out there. We give honors to all the organizations, everybody who's working towards positive upliftment movement, building the community, being prosperous, industrious out there, whether they consider themselves a Moor or not. And especially if you're tuning in. Okay, so we give honors to everybody, honors to you, because we know you're going to share this video, help spread the information and knowledge and wisdom. Okay, so honors to all faithful Moors all over the world, especially here in North America. All right. And the brother that's on right now out of Mecca, this is Sheikh May El. We want to have him on. He's going to speak on the Moorish divine and national movement and some other things. So we'll go ahead and turn the floor over to this brother right now. Peace, Islam, Sheikh.
Islam, brother.
Islam.
First and foremost, I rise giving the highest of praise to Allah. I rise giving the highest of honors to his and our divine, wise, illustrious, and genius prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I extend those great and high honors to the great harbinger and John the Baptist of this era and time, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honors to the first rightfully appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother Emilio Islam.
Islam.
I give honors also to Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother David Bailey Islam.
Islam.
I give honors to all Moors that are living righteous, living according to the law, living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and striving to gain a knowledge in the cycle of the harbinger, the prophet, and the messenger. And the reason why I say the harbinger, the prophet, and the messenger is because everything we know goes in 369. You know, it goes from understanding to equality to being born.
Islam.
And right now we are in the stage of what is known as the birth stage of man.
Islam. Well, you know, I don't know if you dropped out, but a lot of people don't realize that, like, we're in a cycle, you know, a 25,000 year cycle. That's how long it takes for this solar system, you know, to make its way around the great sun at the center of the galaxy, you know. And so a couple of years back, you know, they was talking about the 2012 thing, the whole 2012 calendar and all that. And that was actually wasn't about the end of the world or end times, you know. It's about us coming through that cycle. You know, that whole cycle went through a close. All right.
Yes, sir.
We're, you know, in alignment, you know, with the galaxy. And so if
That's
people are waking up right now, which they are doing, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it, you're in alignment with what's going on celestially as well as internally, right?
That is correct, brother. I give my honors to yourself, brother, as well, because everything you've been doing, bro, you stating facts right now, and everything you're doing, bro, you producing the evidence to the people, socially and politically, because you know, the prophet said propagate the faith. He said propaganda, and everything you just said is all in truth, you know. And just to go back and reflect real quick on to some of the messages teachers, he always said Islam has a 25,000 year cycle. You know what I'm saying?
Islam.
And every 25,000 years it renews its religion, right? So when we look at it, when we break that 25,000 year cycle up, we break that cycle into 2,160 years per per cipher. So every 2,160 years, man must tarry through an age. He must perfect himself. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life.
Islam.
So a carnal was manifested. You feel me? So if a carnal was manifested, then man himself must bring that carnal nature to be fruitful and living. So just to get to the grime of the thing, you know, I know tonight we coming to talk in this Sunday school. You see what I'm saying? We coming to talk about our free national government. See, I have a problem, my brother. I have a problem because on May 1st, I didn't see too many Moors jumping. I didn't see too many Moors shouting. You see what I'm saying? On May 1st, I didn't see too many Moors talking about, okay, why are we still here? You know what I mean? Because the doors have always been open, that's right. But the movement is always gonna be moving. So let's take it back real quick. The Moorish Divine and National Movement of North America. What does that mean? What does it mean? See, first and foremost, the first thing on it says Moorish, right? The next thing is divine. Sometimes it says national divine. Sometimes it says divine national. But we're going to put the divine. After that, it says national. Then it says movement. So the point I'm getting at is on May 1st, 1916, the Moorish Divine and National Movement was found. Not the Moorish Science Temple of America, not the temple, not that, the movement. So the question is, what is the movement? See, because the movement has its own seals, right? See, what we have when what came out of the movement, 1933, you had all these splinter groups and fractions and all that. 1934, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes on the scene, right? He comes on the scene, he takes the teachings, and he grasps the people. By like 39, they stop wearing the fezes. Okay? This is the movement, all right? The movement is not what we think it is, all right? And I'm going to quote something from the elder D. Belial, right?
All right.
D. Belial said when he left the temple and all that, he always used to wonder, well, the prophets say we always got a government. I don't see it, right? Then one day he looked at it and he said, I see the government, right? And the reason why is because when you think of the government, you know, we go to that old European Constitution that we know as the United States Constitution, which is one of the greatest documents ever written, because one of the greatest principles it has, first is the principle of religion. Then it says after the principle of religion, it says freedom of speech. So after you have a right of passage, you have the right to talk. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that Constitution, it says we the people, right?
Right.
We go to Act 6 of our divine constitution and bylaws. It says what? With us.
Islam.
With us. So who is with us? It's the question. See, the reason why they call it the divine constitution and bylaws is because they adhere to the divine and national movement. And the divine and national movement is really what governs over the said temple. So you have a civic organization, 1926 November. Then you have a religious corporation. Most don't talk about the religious corporation, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at, you know, August 1st, 1929, you know, corporate status was granted to religious corporations by the name of Moorish Science Temple of America. This established home rule authority and our functionality ability of self-government, right?
All right.
The movement had already been here. The government had already been here. But things had to been placed into place for the government to be put into place. For real. As in what he said, recognize. That's why if you look at in October when he wrapped the American flag around the little boy Willie Mack Morrison there, and the Moorish flag around the young sister Grace Berry. I can't remember her last name. Pardon the body if I didn't get the name right. 1,000 pardons. He said, the flag is of her and the land is of him. I now declare you are a nation within a nation. This is right after the parade.
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't even understand what they know as the Bud Billiken parade was actually in Chicago. The famous Bud Billiken was actually a parade that was stolen. The Prophet had that parade first, and it wasn't called the Bud Billiken parade. We know it was what it was a part of. It was part of the Moorish movement.
Uh-huh.
Now that's why the spirit of it now, that's why it's always getting shot up. Because our people don't know how to put ourselves first. We always allow ourselves to put other people first. We don't want to put ourselves first. Until we learn to put ourselves first and do for ourselves, and then come together as a whole with our own. That's why it says you don't mix and amalgamate or marry into the pale skin nation of Europe. Because once you mix the ideology and you bring them into the foundation, then where are you going to build from there?
Uh-huh.
You can't build from there. That's why in 1913 to 1929, it wasn't nothing to do with no Europeans and no Moorish Science Temple of America. So the reason we go into that is because home rule authority, is a type of power which is appointed. And when we see this from what it is, and how the Moorish Science Temple of America fits into home rule, all we got to know is home rule, all it really states is a state or constitutional provision or type of legislative action which results in apportionating power between state and local government by providing local cities and towns with a measure of self-government if such local government accepts terms of the state legislation. Now, the fact is the only state in Illinois, the only county within the state of Illinois that can do home rule is the county of Cook. Do you know right now they are trying to make Chicago a state?
I saw that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
They are trying, I didn't even cut you off, bro, but they are trying to make a city a state, the 51st state. We don't even understand the occult symbolism, right? And the reason I'm using occult symbolism is because signs and symbols are for the conscious mind.
Uh-huh.
When you do things, there's an effect. When you put things in motion, there is a certain equal but opposite reaction. But it could be positive, it could be negative. That is what is not explained within cause and effect. As to why we cause the rain, hail, snow, and ice, and the earthquakes, right? So if you claim the Moorish Science Temple of America, and you are a Moorish American, and you connect yourself to the Prophet, then the Prophet say the European gonna get tired of taking care of you, and we gonna have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, Islam.
Listen, Illinois, meaning Southern Illinois, because everything outside of Chicago is Southern Illinois. Uh-huh. Northern Illinois is Southern Illinois. Western Illinois is Southern Illinois. Nobody likes Chicago. They don't like us. What they are proposing on the table is a bill is passed to make Chicago a state. My Prophet told me to vote because the first thing a citizen is supposed to do is vote. And he voted in a time when our people were getting lynched and had our people vote, and then one of us get lynched. See, right here in Bronzeville is some history, you know, Al Capone, all these guys. You see what I'm saying? Because it's something called the Union Siciliana, right? Which is called now, I think, the Italian American National Union. Sound like the Moorish Divine and National Movement, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because behind all the Catholics and their mobs, and the reason I'm using these terms, mobs and organizations and etc., they have passcodes, don't they?
Yeah.
They have grips, don't they? They have a way they treat themselves and treat their women, don't they?
Yeah.
They have a religion that they have behind, which is called Catholicism, that they are upright about. But when they go behind closed doors, the God that they worship is not even a white Jesus, it's the Don.
Yeah.
It's within the Don. The God is within the Don in such a way. The God is within them. You see what I'm saying? They have to take a blood oath. They have to go through a ritual, a rite of passage. This Italian American National Union had connection to all the so-called crime syndicates, Chicago Outfit, Gambino, etc. These ones were from Italy, propagating and profiling and getting rich, profiting off of the Italian American vote. They had their hands in a lot of elections. That's why they talk about the Italian mob behind a lot of things the FBI wouldn't touch, because a lot of them was in the FBI.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They had their own movement. I was scrolling on Facebook yesterday. No, partner body, a couple days ago. I ran into something called the Ancient Order of Hibernians, right? You ever heard of the Ancient Order of Hibernians?
No.
The Ancient Order of Hibernians are a group of Irish men, and these particular so-called Irish men have their own demonstration where they say it's only Irish men can join this. Of Irish descent, and they have to be Catholic faith. And it guarantees them nationality over here.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It guaranteed, and it's connected to Ireland. You see what I'm saying? Behind that, behind the corporation, behind any corporation, behind any business is a government. Behind it all is a government. Everybody talk about the temple, the temple. Yes, the temple, but what about the government? So you got to be in the temple to get to the government.
Islam.
You see what I'm saying? So what about those Italians over here born pure blood? You think they still ain't joining the Italian American National Union in their own little secret way? Doing their own little things? See, when we read, and it's a good thing to read, because self-government, in other words, the ability for us as a nation with action to govern ourselves as well as establish and control our free national standards. This allows us to function under the jurisdiction of the Grand Major Temple. Now listen, why are we using jurisdiction, right? Because the prophet told you stay out of their courtrooms. You're supposed to build your own court.
Islam.
Do we know in Islam what we gonna call, you know, they say Fatiha and all that. Get that out your head. Think not of Arabia. Keep it simple. Just say fiqh. Fiqh means jurisprudence. Fiqh means jurisprudence. See, jurisprudence itself is talking about self-governing. But how are you self-governing? It's only by a movement. See, the more Science Temple of America is recognized, civic organization, religious corporation, I could get into that. But the Moorish Divine and National Movement, that's your government. That is your government. See, you pay per capita tax, right? But a per capita tax had to be issued. It was necessary. It was voted in. It was placed in, okay? So you can support the government, all right? But when you talk about the dues and the emergency funds, see, even the emergency funds, that's your social security. That's your liability check. That's how you get assistance. That's your food stamps. Not for you, for your future. Just in case you don't want to use it. See, the prophet said, you are not a nation until you maintain a grand treasury, right? Well, okay, we all supposed to have our own grand treasury, but the nation is supposed to have a grand treasury. Describe a grand treasury. We can't describe one. Most people can't.
Yeah, it's true.
What I'm getting at is this, he said we plain rich. On top of that, we go into the additional laws just real quick. The additional laws, he tells us we are part and parcel, right? In the divine constitution and bylaws, he tells you are part and partial. Originally, they said they were part and partial in the divine constitution and bylaws. Nobody changed this. The prophet put this up. Part and partial is relating to the Romans. Part and parcel is relating to us. He never said the Moorish Science Temple was incorporated into this government, but it is incorporated as a sovereign religious corporation or a sovereign theocratic monarchy or hierarchy, rather. But the divine and national movement is what he stated is incorporated into the government. So when you talking about incorporation into the government, you are talking about what is already there. That's why I said this is the wheel within the wheel. See, the mothership that is talked about is not what you think is an actual mothership. We could think that is, but the mothership is not coming from the sky. The mothership is coming from the earth.
Islam.
You see what I'm saying? The mothership is coming from the earth. All right. Elijah Muhammad, and I'm quoting him, he said, the black man of America is prophesied in a symbolic way throughout the Bible of becoming the choice of God to produce a nation of gods that the equal has never been in the past, just as we never had in the past. What does that mean?
Break it down for us.
First and foremost, Noble Drew Ali said he was the founder of the Uniting of the Asiatic States of North America. All right. In various states of the United States, referring to the Grand Major Temple in its jurisdiction, with the granted authority of what was established by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, August 1st, 1929, when we were never recognized as a religious corporation with branches throughout this nation. Home rule was a term which was given to a concept created to provide units of local government with an increased means of local control. The theory behind home rule was that some problems are inherently local in nature and thus and better dealt with at the local, even since a one-size-fits-all state legislative solution couldn't possibly foresee problems which are uniquely local in nature. So what I'm saying is, and to break it down is, we gain our power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. It's up to us to figure what that means. But either way, it's done.
What you just said, I mean, we see that in the structure, with the U.S. government, right? You see, each state has their own Supreme Court, they have their own constitution, they have their own laws. I mean, you can see that, So, and actually at a state level, a lot of people do not want national government. You know how every presidential election they come out with the same tired whatever. They'll come out with gay marriage or something like that. Get everybody up, but it's like, nah, you can't. Nah, the national government can't pick, and choose things like that and say, well, everybody's going to do this. Everybody's going to allow gay marriage. It's like, nah.
Peep game.
Carolina ain't doing it, right?
But peep game.
Like, We
But
not
peep
playing.
game, I guarantee you they got over 15 states to agree with them on something.
Mm-hmm.
How many temples did the prophet originally have? He had 15 states. And technically, okay, one like say, oh, he had 15, 14, whatever. He had 15 temples, which count as 15 states. You have to have 15 temples. You have to have 15 different supporters. You have to at least, you got to be up there. That's
Mm-hmm.
how they was able to be recognized.
Islam.
See, recognition, and this is how they was able to be recognized again, because recognition doesn't come out of us accepting anything. It doesn't come out of us asking for anything. Recognition comes out of you being yourself. And they were being unnaturally their self. Look at the term I used. Because when we get into the science, the real science is something called natural and unnatural. This is how the Romans, because the Europeans are unnatural people, they are existing. They are naturally unnatural. We are naturally natural. That's why our hair grows to the sky. That's why their hair grows faster and it grows down. And just to break it down even further, this is how, and I know everybody, I don't know if you've seen the End Game, ETC. I was going to go live about it tomorrow, but you seen End Game?
Not yet.
Oh man, bro. Man, bro, I can't drop no spoilers, man.
Oh man. Look, I know I'm not the only person that haven't seen it yet, man.
Man, all right, man. I won't drop no spoilers, but I say this. I say this, the prophet said he gave us the divine plan of the ages, right?
All right. Yeah. Islam.
On October 17th, 1928, the third meeting day of our first annual National Convention, the prophet draped an American flag around a little boy and our Moorish flag around a little girl and announced them members of the MSCFA that he had made us a nation within a nation. Accordingly, he saw the necessity to give us a plan that would assure that Moorish Americans could assume immediately and forever their rightful place amongst the family of nations by effectively governing themselves. The name he gave his plan was the divine plan of the ages. And just like our divine constitution and bylaws, it only required basic rules, regulations, and divine principles be followed, because he knew that once he got us to thinking, we would save ourselves.
Islam.
So he told us to think for ourselves. It was simple.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, it was simple, right?
Islam.
So we think that, religion and spirituality is two different things. And I say this, in our world, and I'm going to use this term, in the Negro world, it is.
Yeah.
But in the Roman world, it ain't.
Islam.
You in Rome.
Go ahead.
It say obey the laws of Caesar. Caesar created laws with loopholes in them. He's not perfect. Caesar wasn't perfect. He was just a beast.
Basically.
We don't worship their God. We don't worship a Jewish God or a Hebrew God either. And I say it even further, we really don't worship a Muslim God.
Islam, because we were just talking about this earlier today in the study group. What is our religion?
Islamism.
What is religion? Like when you really
bind, to tap back. Right? That's why he says, where do you get this saving power from? From Allah, through your forefathers, from his prophet to you. Islam. Through your forefathers. This saving power. That's why every time we get into the teachings, it start going into Egyptian adab. Right? Because when you talk about Egyptian Adat, you talk about one who is skilled and possessed in all the sciences of life. What is the science of life? See, we are wise scientists. We are scientist people. We are not a spooky people. We control spooks. We control the air and the atmosphere. The point I'm getting at is this, right? You had to test yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You had to create something. You had to create something so strong that he was so weak, that he was so strong that you had to fall. And you have to beat him to prove that you are the mightiest in the universe. There's nobody coming to save us. It's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said he is Jesus returned. Nobody is coming to save you, children. He said Marcus Garvey was John the Baptist of this era and time. So if Marcus Garvey was John the Baptist, shouldn't you be getting baptized in the teachings of Marcus Garvey?
Islam.
See, it's a big role in all these things as to why from both of them produced a nation of Islam. And from all that came Nuwabians and 5% and everything else. Everything else. But now, because the children are wise and the children see, the children are asking questions about fezzes and turbans.
Yep.
They want to know about this stuff. They want to know about, see, when you have children,
it's coming
babies,
back to the circle.
The babies is the great. When you have them come up to try to tell you, man, I know about the government, and it's crazy because you hit me up right now. You like, I know about the government, man. I know about our government, the Moorish government. Of course, a lot of us got a lot of confused ideas. But that's why we have to round them in and tell them, nah, you don't do it like that. You use your religion.
Yeah.
You use your religion.
We were just talking about that today. Like religion, one of the definitions of religion is a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. And then our religion is Islamism. At the root, Islam means peace. Right. So Islamism is the practice of being at peace, at one with everything, with the universe, with everything. We know the universe is out there, is also in us. So
we don't even have to explain that no more, bro. You want to know why we don't have to explain that no more? Because every race, every nation uses their religion to get what they need in America.
Islam.
Every race. Irish use Catholicism. Italians use Catholicism. I know they like nationality, but some of these people is mixed with our blood.
Yeah.
They use their religion to enhance their racial procedures. And all their religions is based on gods that look like them.
That's true.
This is why when you open your Quran, you look at Noble Drew Ali, and he's standing up, and you look at the Arabian, he's sitting down.
Islam.
Because if we talk about why he's sitting down, we're talking about why Mecca in the East is destroyed. Why we ain't never made no Hajj to Mecca? Because he said Chicago gonna be your new Mecca. Now they trying to make Chicago a state. He said Moors vote. You telling me not to vote? And he trying to make my city a state? You know what we could do with that? They're like, you can't do nothing. You don't own nothing. We don't own Illinois. Yes. But Chicago, that ain't much distance for us to cross.
Islam.
See, the Pan American Conference on January, and I want to say January 3rd, or 11th, I might not be sure on the actual date of those actual dates, but I know January of 1929, Prophet Noble Drew Ali went to the Pan American Conference in Havana, Cuba. Today, the Pan American Conference is known as the Organization of American States. Listen to what it's called. The Organization of American States. And they're not talking about just in North America. It's in South America, Central America. You have all the people of the Trinidad. Man, you have all those people. All our people. Asiatics, they there. And you know what the language they mostly speak? The delegates?
Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
That is correct, my brother. Spanish. He told us to learn Spanish, not only because it's so similar to the Arabic language, but because it has mixed Latin roots in it. Latin is a dead language. You see what I'm saying? Latin is a dead language. So we sitting up here like, okay, well, who out the bam? There's certain things we can do and we can't do, you know? You know what I'm saying? The prophet said, when he made a plea to a nation, our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and the American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. The first thing he said was the Asiatic race. Most of us, we know what Asiatic means, but we don't know how to apply Asiatic to our lives. Because Asiatic ain't talking about the Moors and the Fez. It's Asiatic talking about the Moors without the Fezes. Asiatic talking about your people. This is the government. When are we going to go get our government? Then he applies to the nation. He says, for I have suffered many for severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and apply to free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. So by law, you're a Republican. Not only that, as he said before, you have to proclaim your free national name and your free national religion. Why is he saying claim your free national name and religion? Your religion is free national just like your free national name. Because your religion is something unique. It's something old. It ain't something they gave to you.
Islam.
See, in the lessons, it said Christianity, and I'm talking about the lessons of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, say Christianity was started 551 years ago. See, the identity of Christianity as a nation, meaning all the people of Europe who united under the banner of Christianity, that's what started 551 years ago from the date of those writings, not today. We know Christianity originally started, like it says, in Rome, which it always has started in Rome. It has always been mixed in Rome. Those Christian nations pulled together and they pulled what they said was this is their divine right. When you come into a spiritual people, you tell them God sent me to enslave you. They told you God. What God?
Their God.
See, why does it say the 10 Commandments?
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments were used to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. Now, wait a minute. We got to go back now and really look. What was going on that mountain with Moses? Who was he really talking to? Things is not what they appear to seem to be. All right. The Nation of Islam, just like the Moorish Science Temple of America, get their power and authority from the Great Quran of Muhammad. Everybody does. Or some other holy book. or some other type of secret book or occult book. They use a book. They use some type of little literature, little pamphlet. Even the Klan, they get their power and authority from the Quran.
Yep.
They got a whole Quran dedicated to the purification of the white race.
How they work that out?
I don't, man, the same way we got a whole Quran dedicated to the purification of the Moorish race.
Mm-hmm.
Same way Hitler had his own ideology. He told them that he was Jesus returned. Everybody has had their own savior except the Jews. I'm going to keep it real with you. Everybody has proclaimed, if you look in history, every nation, even in Africa, everybody has had some messenger or some prophet or some shihan or some shaman or some sheik or some spiritual ayatollah. Everybody.
Uh-huh.
Except for the Jews, right? And we sitting there playing games because how did the Jews start their government? They started with the Jewish Zionist national movement.
Yep.
They started in 1917, a year after the Moorish divine and national movement.
Wow.
They picked up, and they try to say, well, it started in 18. No, your cult started then. Your cult started in 1870 and 60 when y'all were plotting. But your reality started in 1916. During those years of those wars. Mm-hmm. When the prophet was in America and they took it back in 1917. See, this is the thing, and they've always been around and they've always tried to watch the prophet, Claude D. Green, the dude that slept with the prophet's wife. Mm-hmm. And end up getting changed over. He was working for a Jew. Unity Hall. When you go to Unity Hall, it says it was owned by Jews. Uh-huh. It was a Jewish social club. That's why the prophet said no social clubism. Everybody got their own form of Masons and secret societies. Where's yours? Everybody got their own frats. The mosque ain't nothing. The mosque over in the east ain't nothing but secret brotherhoods and secret. That's all it is. Where's yours? Mm-hmm. And from all these, they able to manage their government. The Saudis, they get their power and authority from the Quran and their idea of Allah. Okay, so do we. We not y'all.
Islam.
And we don't even like y'all. You in our community selling us. See, this is the thing, and we don't really realize. The prophets say the descendants of Hagar, Arabians, Japanese, Chinese. He telling you these people, right? Look at these people today. The Chinese eat rats and dogs and all type of crazy stuff. The Japanese got bombed with an H2O bomb. If you don't know what an H2O bomb do to you, I expect everybody to just find out. Uh-huh. In the Sauds, we already know they're the reasons that the Jews have Palestine today, meaning Sultan Abdul Aziz ibn Saud, now the head of Holy City of Mecca, who is sitting down, the secret. Uh-huh. The Jews have, because he's a Jew as well. They're all Jews over there in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. They all have power, and it was a plan to dethrone the so-called Ottomans, who were Europeans and Moors. Mm-hmm. Dethroned the Ottomans, and they dethroned the Ottomans. And when they dethroned the Ottomans, what happened? The Jews started to take control. Not then yet. World War II happened, and after World War II, then they fully took control. They was able to move over in that land, which had been vacated for like almost 30-some years, which was known as Palestine. Why has it been vacated? Because they was doing the same thing Negroes do. Sit there and let their stuff go to waste. Mm-hmm. They didn't know how to capitalize. They didn't know how to build a military, just like they don't know how to do today. The only people in oppression that know how to rise up and do anything for themselves are the Moors, the Asiatics, whatever we want to call us here in America. We're the only ones that know how to raise up. We have proved it time and time again. Now, there's more in all those who have raised up. I'm not saying that there aren't any that haven't, But when we look in a broadlistic scale, especially with those who have been mutated, and when I say mutated, we're talking about they are not of our blood all the way anymore. They have been washed out. Some of them haven't. Some of them are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't have the skills to do what we can do here. We have all the original blood flowing through our veins. We have it all.
Mm-hmm.
But the Moorish Divine and National Movement itself is the government. See, when you put that flag up, why hasn't nobody came and took our flag?
They can't.
They can't. So if they can't take our flag, then what does that say about you? This is a flag that a whole nother country took from us. When we gonna file a court case? We filing court cases on traffic and all this stuff. The real court case is, why is these ones over here using our flag and sitting down with the Pope?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Hey, can you explain that for the people that don't know? Like that. I saw that article talking about that in Morocco.
Well, the thing is, and I didn't really see much of the article. I seen the picture. But first and foremost, when you see that Pope sitting on that left side, or your left, which is really right if you're sitting up speaking from his right, that's the sovereign side. That is the sovereign side. That flag of Morocco, which was on your right, which is really the left, which had black fringes around it, that was on more so on the domestic side. I would never do that with any type of flag. I would never give the Pope no honor like that.
Yeah.
You know? And the thing is, they know who we are. They don't hide it either. And I don't know why most of our people think they hide it. They're waiting on us to get ourselves right in the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Right?
Islam.
But most of our people, again, you know, it's little signs and symbols. If you don't understand it, you won't see it. Right? See, a part of making citizens to the USA wasn't just making citizens to the USA, it was making citizens under the prophet. You know, religion itself is man's relation to divinity, to reverence, to worship, obedience, and submission to mandates and precepts of supernatural or superior beings. The superior being can be met inside of us because we are the superior beings. We are the supreme beings. If we really want to go there. See, a lot of times we focus on finance and things like that in the Moorish Science Temple of America. But you know, those second laws that the prophet mentioned with finance and all that, where he said, I never needed finance so much as I do it badly. So I can shove aside discord that is facing nature as I do at present. He only said that because Moors was being dirty. He didn't say that because of we broke. We got money. We don't know how to use our money. He knew how to use our money and get things started. He knew how to use his people. Moors started getting jealous. Lomax Bay, Claude D. Green. That's when he was locked up and going through court cases and all that. They were trying to take hold of the movement. And they don't know how to run the movement. That's why when you look at the back of the affidavit, or when you go get the real affidavit from the county, it says sheiks, but sheiks are trustees. How do you run a government? Which branch is the legislative branch? Which branch is the judicial branch? Which branch is the executive branch? You know? We don't need this. What you mean we don't need this? We got home rule authority. Yes, we do. This is what he set up. That's why you have a prophet. That's why the Act 1 says Grand Sheik and Chairman is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Look who it said, the assistance of the grand body. Enforce law and make law.
Mm-hmm.
The prophet and the grand body. You need the prophet, the grand body, and the grand sheikh and chairman.
Islam. Yeah, that's the executive, judicial, and legislative right there. You know.
Actually, that's the legislative. They make law. The executive itself, though, yeah, actually, no, you're right, though. You're
The
right.
chairman,
Because the
the
prophet
chairman,
is executive. Prophet is executive. You're
yeah.
right, bro. Now you're right, 100%. You're right. Straight, you right. You right. All right. You 100% right. But that's it though. That's the law. And they said the law must live. So the first place you get the law from is from religion.
Mm-hmm.
That's how really how you able to do certain things and how you able to move. You get the L on your name or the Bay on your name, and you able to move. Why? Because you don't belong to them no more. You have free national standards. It's already been put in the government. It's no need to go through any radical or really the only thing you need is your words, actions, and your deeds. And everybody leave out words, but you need your words, actions, and your deeds. You see what I'm saying? You need that. Because you can either save, heal, or destroy. That's the reality of it now. That's the reality of it.
Islam. We got some questions too in the chat.
What's the question?
Yeah. Okay, we got a Bay in here. He's asking, so how are Moors claiming to be U.S. citizens if we Republicans? We are.
Easy. Easy. And I'm finna read this from the prophet. Letter from the prophet. Let's see. Home office 3603 Indiana Avenue, telephone number or teleline or whatever they used in Douglas 5909, March 11th, 1928. Brother Crumbie Bay, the governor and chief head of the temples in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Brother Charles Bay, governor and chief head of the temple in Cleveland, Ohio. These two brothers are empowered by the prophet to investigate business etc. of Temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan, because Lomax Bay has violated all divine laws, keyword, divine laws of the prophet. Even before the prophet's face, February 15th, 1929, he claims that the prophet has no more power and finance from and no more and the finance from Detroit will be in his charge. He wouldn't send any to the prophet. He yelled with a loud voice, "Look at me, I will guide you through. This is lawful and living evidence spoken before 1,500 people, and the prophet was also present. I, the prophet, declare his office vacant in the name of the grand governor discharged. He can only be a member according to law because the Moorish Science Temple of America is a divine organization. Each temple is under supreme guidance of the prophet. When man fails after being placed as a head of the temple by the prophet of obeying the divine laws and constitution, he is a traitor and enemy to the divine creed and are loyal to the national government USA, to which the movement is to make men and women better citizens." From the prophet, Noble Drew Ali.
There you go, from the prophet.
So now you know he said, we are Republicans and we are to make our people better citizens. But don't get caught up with just making yourself a better citizen with them, because it's a difference between being lawful and the law.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have laws that we abide by
Islam
that do conflict with some of the USA government laws. Some of the laws they said was Negro, black, and colored is legal. We don't abide by that. We Moorish Americans.
Islam.
You see what I'm saying?
Islam.
So get out your little box. That's what I want to say to whoever that is. They want to ask these smart questions.
Yeah.
The prophet laid what he said out, man. Even Marcus Garvey said, enjoy your, you're supposed to be enjoying your citizenship wherever you at.
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm not going to get a passport?
Yeah, Islam.
You think I'm not? Why? I got everything else I need. You telling you a slave. Prove, you can't even prove I'm a slave.
Well, look, the people who say that, for the most part, they never even been anywhere.
They never been nowhere, bro.
Because I'm telling you, like, I lived in Brazil for 5 years with my children and my wife, you know. Like, come on, man. You can't go there on something that you made up or bought off the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, come Oh man, so like people that's doing that.
Everybody, every place, every nationality, every nation has their own flag, and every flag on every nation has little principles that go with it. You could Wikipedia it. Wikipedia is the most simplest place you could look for all these little things where everybody be talking about, oh, it's not this and all that. I mean, this my thing. Like you said, bro, they ain't never been nowhere, and they especially ain't never been to no real temple.
Islam.
You see what I'm saying? They don't know no real prayers, no real presses. They don't know. They don't know you need a secretary, a grand treasurer. You need a grand sheik, chairman. You need all these little things to work. The assistant grand sheik is the assistant grand sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They don't even know the assistant grand sheik is the grand sheik when he ain't there. Just like Mike Pence is the president when Trump ain't there.
Islam.
You know? Or whoever comes second to whatever governor here in Chicago and Illinois or whatever state, man, look. Per capita tax, and this is what I'm gonna leave everybody with. Geniuses, right? Per capita tax is for the government, right? That's why per capita tax was voted in. Look up per capita tax, right? Dues is for the tempo. It's for the upkeep of the movement.
Islam.
Upliftment funds. If you can, pay the upliftment funds. If you can't, don't worry about it. The emergency funds. The emergency funds are for your emergencies. That's for your security. That's why you pay your emergency funds. Because we want to provide and build and get bigger. You see what I'm saying? We don't want to keep being stagnated. But we have to bring the government to our people. And we can't keep the lie alive. You know?
Islam. So that there you have it right there. Per capita tax for the Moorish divine and national movements, for the government, the dues are for the temple. And like what is the temple to do with the dues? For the people that's asking these questions.
The temple, the grand sheik is to take the dues and he's supposed to use it for the upkeep of the temple. That's if you don't know what the upkeep of the temple is, let's first go involved. Let's get involved. Right? Can you hear me?
Islam, yeah. We hear you.
So the upkeep number one is don't you want to pull certain things and get certain events done? Don't you want to go to like different political places and things like that? Keep your temple running and all these things, pay rent, you see what I'm saying? That's what dues is for. All right. And there's other things as well as that go with that goes to public collection, sick collection. Sick collection is for the sick. Public collection is for the public. That also goes to the necessity of the temple. Let me explain this to be more clear. The money that goes to the temple goes to that said temple. The money that goes to the grand treasury, which goes to the Supreme Grand Council, that money is known as per capita tax and upliftment funds. That is not the dues. The dues remain within the bank account of the said temple, and it should always be under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Finance, or Noble Drew Ali.
Islam. All right. We got another question too. Asking Bay is asking in here, what did Noble Drew Ali say about the Constitution when mentioning the Moorish Divine National Movement?
In which hand? Because when mentioning the Moorish Divine and National Movement, he talks about the divine constitution and bylaws.
Yeah, I think he was talking about the U.S. Constitution.
Well, the only quote the prophet really gives of the U.S. Constitution is one of the greatest little pieces of paper ever written because of the principle of religious freedom.
Islam. All right. Somebody else asked in here, how do we get affidavit from the county?
You go down there and pay $20 and don't be smart. You go down there in an intelligent tone and don't be a Negro. Be civilized.
Yeah.
They will give it to you. It's only $20. You don't yell at them. You don't demand them. You act like the prophet. And let me say another thing. A lot of these ones get into a real temple and really learn. You see what I'm saying? Learn for real. Because there's some stuff out here a lot of y'all don't know, and y'all really think y'all know, and you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Islam.
All you got to do is go down there and pay $20. That's all.
Yeah, because there's somebody in the chat that was saying the prophet said the priesthood is dead, you know? And I see the brother
Well,
Parker
if he
L
said the priesthood is dead, why he talks so much about divine rights? What's the difference between divine rights and birthrights?
Mm-hmm.
Because I deal with divine rights before I deal with my birthrights.
Islam.
Especially when dealing with these Romans, and I got experience. Youngest Grand Sheik in the movement.
Islam. Islam. All right. Somebody else asked, Smith Bay said, what are we supposed to do after we have a felony and they tell us we can't go anywhere?
Well, number one, if you have a felony, I honestly, I don't even want to go into that. Because if I did go into that, would you stay with the temple or would you leave the temple is my question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't got time for frauds. If I said we got a government, we got a government. And I ain't saying in my prophet said it. I only read his words. And you should use the prophet. You'll probably get it expunged if you use the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly speaking.
But like for what he's saying, like, you know, look, man, if you out here just trying to get over, and you're not actually trying to come in and build up the nation and be a part of this, you know, you might as well just stay where you at.
Right. Keep your seat, bro. Because if you can't, because I'm be real, this is my thing. I'm going to say this. You got to be with me for 5 years, at least for me to think about cleaning that up. Or at least for me to try to get somebody to help clean that up.
Islam.
I don't got it. But the thing is we can do wonderful things. It's called the possibilities of man. I just know my prophet.
Islam.
Now, my thing is are you a dedicated member? Are you a dedicated person? Would you pay your dues, your per capita tax, your uplifting fund? Would you adhere to the nation? Would you assist in all uplifting acts, part and partial? Would you adhere to authority? Would you obey authority? Would you be able to work with your people, whether they call themselves Negro, Black, Colored, African American, Indian, Indigenous, or Coon, Shine, Spick, or whatever?
Islam.
Because I could tell you the prophet was passing out Christmas presents on Christmas for the Romans. Then he chilled on his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And got all type of nasty mad gifts from the governors. Not to mention the prophet said, and let me find this real quick. You know.
Islam, while he's looking for that, the brother answered back too. Smith Bay, he said he would stay. Some other people saying why so long, 5 years though. We, you know, just explain why. Because some people are trying to get over. Yeah. And they're not serious. Like you can't just jump in, say, hey, I want to beat these charges. I'm gonna use y'all and then screw y'all. I'm gonna go back out here and sell drugs again. Like, come on, man. Are you for real about it? You know? Are you trying to use this or are you serious? And I don't know, like somebody had asked about what you think about USAR. I didn't ask that because we're not trying to like talk trash about any other organizations. So nobody's talking trash about any other organizations. So you can go somewhere with that. But yeah, like so the brother said, I'm not trying to get over. Came from when I was still a child and it's from 2002.
Oh wow, brother. They were supposed to get that off your background. You get that expunged, brother. It's been over 7 years.
Islam, but like if you didn't get what he's saying, he's just saying he's like plain and simple. Just you know, people want to know you sincere, you for real about it. You're not just trying to get over.
Yeah,
you know, this is not a hustle. This is for real.
Yeah, this is serious. This is serious business. You got this ain't no joke. You know, I'm not gonna play with it either. And the worst thing you could really do is play with it. It'll be just leave it alone, rather, because we really got to help our people. You know what I'm saying? And we got to get out of the ideologies, because the only ideal is the one you think is your God. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror. So we have to start doing things and moving towards certain things. Like, not everything is as bad as we seem, you know. But these demonstrations like that, they can be assisted with, they can be done, but it's a possibility of man. Not everything is promised, but Allah is the best of planners, and when He's leading on, victory is for sure.
Islam.
I can't find this little demonstration. That's why I ain't want to quote it yet, unless I could read it. Because once I find it, I'm gonna read it. It's something what a prophet said. He said something slick in that too. You know, I'm trying to look.
All right. Yeah, but like, man, I'm somebody said he's still trying to bargain, talking about 2 years ain't long enough. Like, man, I don't even know if that's a set time or if that's just something he threw out there. But I'm just saying, like, you got to feel where it's coming from.
And this is where you see
You got
how
to be
finance
for real.
now. Hey, Moore, how many days is in a year?
365. Come on, y'all.
Nah, Moore.
Oh,
What it say in the nah, Moore.
seven.
What it say in the hey, what it say in the last question of the Quran? I mean, the question is
That's
7 days.
7.
So you can't. So you telling me you can't wait? What? You can't wait 5 weeks, bro? You can't wait 5 weeks. You can't be in the temple for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's all a year is a week. We age every day. That's how I know people aren't sincere. Because for me that'd be like, I'll come to the prophet right or wrong. 2 years, you should be within the first month. You should be able to figure it out yourself if you come into a temple and read the prophet's literature and study him. Stop studying these cats on the internet, man. They don't know what they talking about, man.
Islam.
You know? They don't know
what about the brothers out there, the sisters out there, it's like in the temple, but like they not learning anything. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe the people they, with aren't teaching them anything like that.
Start asking if your supreme grand sheik, right? Listen. If your supreme grand sheik, supreme grand governor, supreme grand business manager, supreme grand blah 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 blah, if he ain't producing nothing, she ain't producing nothing, they ain't producing nothing, every one of them, all of them, if they not producing nothing, if your grand sheik ain't on nothing, if he ain't active, if they ain't in the community, if they ain't putting in no work, stop talking to me about it. You know what I'm saying? Not you, bro, but just them. I don't want to leave them alone. That's how you should be. Stop talking to me until you find a real temple. Because the prophet said you got to find the prophet said if the prophet ain't right, the temple ain't right. What do you think he's talking about? All grand sheiks and heads officials are to imitate who? The prophet. If the prophet ain't right, the temple ain't right. The prophet told you everything he said. That's why he said it's been so much confusion in this movement. Because they have misunderstood what has this been dedicated to. You know? The dedication is not to any radicalism. You see what I'm saying? The dedication is to us being built up. And even if it, the radicalism he's really talking about is the radicalism amongst ourselves. You know?
Islam.
He's not talking about too many other people. You know what I'm saying?
Islam.
I'm trying to find this quote from the prophet because I want to say it right. And it's like it disappeared on me.
And I guess the brother is in the chat. He's maybe he's interested in USAR,
Leave it alone.
You gotta be careful. I mean, the brother did just get locked up,
Yeah, I know the brother personally.
You know,
He's a good brother. But they should leave that alone. Like, they should leave that alone. Like, just get with the temple and be smooth. You know, we have to learn to be civilized amongst ourselves before we go out there and be try to play with the European. That's the whole point why the prophet found the temple, because he said, I can't wake all of y'all up at one time. Y'all might hurt somebody. I'm not gonna be able to do nothing with you. You know the prophet talks slow.
Islam.
But we are supposed to be a nation of gods. You know, I can't find this page, but I I, I know I'm not going crazy because because this is the only thing I really wanted to. You know, I'm gonna just say it like this. You know, and you know they can ask any elder in the movement. When the prophet went down to Springfield, Illinois, he shook hands with governors, men of service, which means servicemen, head officials, and all type of business people, etc. He was a well respected. They was honored to see the prophet, right? The prophet had a connection to the U.S. military. Do you know he pointed to the American flag and said, "That's my army and that's my navy"?
Islam.
When he said that, we got to realize, like he said, when the wheels start turning, everything gonna end up in the hands of the Asiatics. That's my army and that's my navy. It all belongs to us at the end of the day. We haven't mastered the destiny on how to take control. If we master our destiny, if we could, if since it's 2020, if since it's 2020, if we could get, and see, this is how smart people is. Even if you can't get your name corrected, in Chicago, we have something where you could get registered under. We can register you under your name, and whatever name you is. If you want to be a Bay L, if you want to be Shabazz Bay, whatever,
Mhm.
we can register it in a vote, and your spiritual name, religious name, can be put on there, and you could use that on your vote. You don't have to always have a name change, even though we do suggest you get the name change.
Yeah.
But if you can't do it, come holler at your brothers and sisters. Stop being so stubborn.
Hmm.
Look into the prophet said, take your rightful place in the affairs of men, not get stuck out and left. You're not taking no rightful place in the affairs of men by being radical and getting locked up because you don't want a driver's license. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody is doing that. No nation that lives here does these things.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I'm studying and I am seeing. You want to know how most people get their citizenship coming from other countries if they don't come by boat? They join the military, bro.
Hmm.
They join the military and they get their citizenship. The only other way besides and it you know it's different forms and classes of citizenship. That's just one form of class of citizenship. You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
military citizenship. You see what I'm saying? A lot of our people, black people, they have military citizenship. That is a fact. That is a recommended fact. They did not want us to be heroes. Another way is voter citizenship. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Voter citizenship. That is another way of exercising citizenship. A third way is by creating some type of club, civic organization, religious organization. And that religious organization, civic organization, or club denotes to one's inherited bloodline, race, genealogy, etc., and for them only. This is why they had to make black Greek frats. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the Greek frats wouldn't let them in. It's not for y'all. This is why it's called Prince Hall Masonry,
Uh-huh.
because it's really not for them.
Yeah.
So Noble Drew Ali, he brought us something for us. He said, "Oh, I'm gonna do this for y'all." Marcus Garvey did something more prone. He went around the world with it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Until we learn to exercise the global connection, and what I mean by that is Elijah Muhammad has said, the 2 million that was already here and the 17 million that came, until we learn to exercise that power over here, meaning the 2 million that was already here and the 17 million that came. Until we learn how to access it, we won't be able to move correctly. The Moorish divine and national movement's the other way. You know what I'm saying? It's the only way. You know what I'm saying? I know they got some more questions. If not, man, that's all as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Man, it looks like that's it. You know,
It's on.
I mean, you covered a lot. You know, in
Thank
a
you.
short amount of time. So we appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate it, man. And more should really try to come out here to Chicago more. May 1st, whenever, man. This is, we need y'all out here in September and October. We need y'all, man. Stop being scared to come to Chicago, man. Your family out here. But man, brother, honest to you, honest to your wife. I appreciate y'all having me on the show, man. I appreciate you, brother. Man,
Um,
it was a blessing, man.
Islam, honest to you. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing. Everybody, make sure you click like and share on this. Is there anything like, do you have a YouTube or anything you want to share so that people can go get in touch with you or
Yeah,
whatever you
I
put
got
in
it.
there?
I got a YouTube. I don't really be on the YouTube, but I got a book coming out. Um, Young Man's Message to Black America. Bad.
All right. All right. Well, definitely you send me the link. I'll put the YouTube in the description. So
Yes,
y'all
sir.
come on back, go to his YouTube and subscribe. All right, this is my man, the young phenom, like he said, the youngest Grand Sheik in the nation. Okay. So appreciate you for coming on. Thanks for sharing the wisdom and knowledge. We're gonna go ahead and shut things down for now. Y'all make sure you click like, share, and subscribe. All right. Thanks everybody for coming through. Peace, everybody.
Peace, peace.
Peace. Peace and love.